We go to breaking news now out of Sudan, where the country's transitional government has agreed to hand over former President Omar al-Bashir to the International Criminal Court. He faces charges of genocide, war crimes and crimes against humanity over the conflict in Darfur. Bashir was ousted in April after months of nationwide demonstrations. Let's go now to Heber Morgan, who joins us now live from Khartoum. Heber, this is a major development, given he's been wanted by the ICC for a long time now. Why is this happening now?
Well, what's happening at the moment is that the Sudanese transitional government is in talks with various armed groups in the South Sudanese capital, Juba. Some of those groups are from Darfur, where a war has been raging since 2003. And one of the main conditions of these armed groups is transitional justice, specifically having former President Omar al-Bashir handed over to the International Criminal Court. Now, what the Sudanese government announced just under an hour ago is that they have agreed with the Darfuri armed groups that they will hand over the former president and others who also had arrest warrants issued against them to the International Criminal Court. They say this is part of achieving transitional justice. And they've also said that there will be a hybrid court that will be established to make sure that various other crimes that were committed, not just in Darfur, but other regions in Sudan, are also tried for and those criminals held to account. They also said that they will strengthen the chief, or rather traditional system in the country to make sure that people who have been affected by the war get some kind of justice. Now, let's go back to the cost of the war. Over 300,000 people have been killed in Darfur alone and more than 2 million people displaced. So the Darfuri armed groups are saying that this, unless the Sudanese government agreed to handing over the former president to the International Criminal Court, then the talks cannot go forward. And that is what the government has agreed to. Now, what comes next is for them to settle security arrangements before they sign a final peace deal, and then that becomes official.
What does this tell us about the transitional government, Heber? I mean, they've been in power for, a few months now. What does this tell us about how they want to put Sudan back on the international stage?
Well, it seems that from what we heard from the transitional government and from the armed groups, they say that they are very keen to try to achieve peace, to make sure that there is some kind of stability. The conflicts in the various parts of the country is the reason why Sudan's economy has been deteriorating. And they say the core solution to try to restore the country's economy once again is to try to bring stability. So it looks like what they're trying to do right now is more of an internal issue, to try to make sure that they don't have any more interference and that there is no instability, especially since, as you say, the transitional government isn't that old. It was just formed in August last year after months of political turmoil and after months of talks between the protest movement known as the Forces of Freedom and Change Coalition and the Transitional Military Council that ousted former President Omar al-Bashir. Now, they have previously also said that this is not their case, that handing over the former president to the International Criminal Court is not up to them, but up to an elected government. But it looks like that the talks between the armed groups and the government has reached a point where they had to offer some concessions. And it looks like handing over the former president and those who are also wanted alongside with him is a concession they made to try to get the talks moving so that they can sign a deal before the deadline that they agreed on, which is the 14th of February.
Thanks for that. That's Al Jazeera's Heber Morgan there live from Khartoum.